Fortnite could be bringing its Titanic presence to iOS for iPhone users as early as today. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years since we've seen Fortnite mobile on iOS. Apple's popular storefront has lacked the titanic presence of one of gaming's greatest battle royale shooters due to legal action. But after a change of legislation in 2024, it was decided that Fortnite Mobile could return. And that return was supposed to happen this week. Considering we're at the end of the week, it looks like we'll be getting word any minute now. It was just last week that Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney sent out this post on X. He says, "We will return Fortnite to the US iOS App Store next week." The post goes on to share some details, saying Epic puts forth a peace proposal. If Apple extends the court's friction-free, Apple tax-free framework worldwide, we'll return to the App Store worldwide and drop current and future litigation on the topic. Earlier today, Ducky the Gamer on X sent out this post saying a little over an hour ago, a brand new Fortnite mobile update, v35.00, was submitted and sent into review by the iOS App Store. Now we wait, sharing this image of the iOS Fortnite update. And Fortnite confirmed this post by submitting their own post on X, saying, "We've submitted Fortnite to Apple for review so we can launch on the App Store in the US." Now, some of you all watching may be wondering, how did this even start in the first place? Well, Apple removed Fortnite from its App Store in 2020 after Epic unveiled an in-app payment system into the game. I guess Epic wanted that whole piece of the pie and they didn't want to share. And that move led to a court battle between the two companies. Apparently, Apple wants to charge developer fees on purchases made outside of the App Store. And Epic Games basically accused Apple of possessing an illegal monopoly with its App Store, which collected commissions between 15 and 30% on in-app purchases. So let's put this into layman's for everybody in here to be able to easily understand. You have a gaming developer like Epic that ends up developing one of the biggest and most popular games in the gaming industry. Epic decides they're going to create an app for mobile users. Surely, Apple did not help them design or create this app. But of course, it's in the best interest of Epic Games to be in the App Store, as Apple iOS has tons of users. Basically, Epic wants to use the iOS platform, and I'm sure Apple wants Epic on their platform. But the main question becomes, at what cost? And that's where the business relationship began to deteriorate. Back in 2021, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers handed down an order that demanded Apple refrain from anti-competitive conduct and pricing and allow outside payment options in the App Store. Apple then filed an appeal on this ruling, stating that the judge's order could determine the future of its highly lucrative App Store. Responding to that appeal, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers said that Apple was flaunting that demand, a finding that Apple has now called extraordinary. Apple has alleged in a court filing that her order unlawfully prevents the company from controlling core aspects of its business operations, stating that a federal court cannot force Apple to permanently give away free access to its products and services, and that includes intellectual property. Before we continue detailing exactly what went down between Epic and Apple, I want to reach out to you guys, the viewers. What do you guys think so far about what happened between Epic and Apple? Apple basically has the platform with all the users, and they're saying they want a percentage of what Epic brings in. Epic gets their app onto the iOS platform, but they in turn create a system for in-app purchases, cutting out the middleman. I guess Epic was feeling like 15 to 30% is a bit too much. Definitely curious to hear your thoughts on this, so sound off in the comments. Now remember, I had mentioned in 2020, Epic accused the iPhone maker of possessing an illegal monopoly with its App Store, which collected commissions between 15 and 30% on in-app purchases. Well, the judge rejected Epic's monopoly claims, but found Apple was stopping developers from giving users alternative payment options in violation of California's competition rules. She then ordered Apple to make changes that will help developers steer customers to cheaper payment options outside of the Apple ecosystem. Well, apparently Apple was having none of it, as Epic accused Apple of failing to comply by creating a whole new set of fees for developers instead. I tell you guys, shady boots. The move by Apple to now charge a new set of developer fees led to a contempt order by the same exact judge that handed down the ruling in the first place. Judge Gonzalez-Rogers found that Apple continued to interfere with competition, saying that the internal company documents showed Apple deliberately violated her 2021 injunction. Apple then requested an appeals court to take action, including by lifting a ban that stops it from charging developer fees on purchases made outside of the App Store. They wanted that joint removed completely. The company wrote that such restrictions will cost Apple substantial sums annually and are based on conduct that has not been found unlawful. Rather, the rulings were imposed to punish Apple for purported non-compliance with an earlier state law injunction that in itself is invalid. As I repeat an earlier quote from Apple's lawyer saying a federal court cannot force Apple to permanently give away free access to its products and services, including including intellectual property. I tell you guys, there's some juicy stuff all too interesting to me. Hopefully you guys are still following along. Now wait till you guys hear what Epic had to say in response to Apple's quote saying that the judge's ruling will cost Apple substantial sums annually. Epic said at that time that the judge's contempt order was already benefiting consumers. They go on to say Apple has faced a surge of genuine competition as developers have updated their apps with better payment options, better deals, and better consumer choices. And Epic went on to criticize Apple's motion as a last-ditch effort to block competition and extract massive junk fees at the expense of consumers and developers. Ain't that something? Epic is out here for the people, or at least it seems that way. This thing got so deep that they were considering criminal contempt on Apple. As the judge says, CEO Tim Cook ignored executive Philip Schiller's urging to have Apple comply with her injunction, and they then allowed Chief Financial Officer Luca Maestri to convince him not to. She says, and I quote, "Cook chose poorly." She goes on to say the company documents she revealed that Apple knew exactly what it was doing and at every turn chose the most anti-competitive option. She went on to say that she will refer the matter to the U.S. Attorney for Northern District of California to investigate if criminal contempt proceedings against Apple is appropriate. Now, after hearing all this drama between Apple and Epic, a lot of you guys are probably wondering what's changed. Why is Fortnite now able to come back to iOS? Well, we'll break it down. In 2024, gaming-related legislation and legal battles significantly impacted Apple's App Store, particularly in the US and EU. Specifically, the Supreme Court's decision not to hear the Epic Games versus Apple case led to Apple's updated App Store policies, allowing developers to now link out to alternative payment options, albeit with a 27% fee. The Supreme Court's decision in the Epic Games case, while not directly forcing Apple to lower its fees, did significantly weaken its anti-steering policies. But Apple responded by implementing a link out policy, allowing developers to direct users to alternative payment systems, but they are now subject to a 27% commission on purchases made through those links. This same policy also requires developers to obtain approval, adhere to specific link presentation guidelines, and include a disclaimer before directing users to alternative payment methods. For those of you who are still here, I think it's important for us to take in the idea that Epic just wanted to offer consumers and users an alternative payment method, and Apple basically didn't like that. They wanted all users to stay within the Apple ecosystem, or at least it seems that way to me. You guys let me know what you think. One way or another, both companies lost millions upon millions of dollars. And I ask you guys, was it really worth it for either company? Especially over the last 5 years, both companies have benefited from tremendous success. The initial developer fees that Apple was requesting from Epic, 15 to 30%, not sure what the exact number was for the Fortnite app on iOS, but I imagine it would have been on the higher end. And after 5 years of drama, it turns out that Epic will still have to pay 27%. But I believe all this drama was a necessary evil in the best interests of consumers. As consumers and users on the iOS platform, we should always have options available for us. And I tell you guys, the idea of any company trying to minimize or limit our options seems to be completely unfair. I think a lot of these companies forget the reason they're in business is because of the people that buy their products and the people that use their products. As always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this stuff, so share your thoughts in the comment section below. If any of you guys are new here, consider dropping a like and a sub on your way out, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, y'all.